Up next, Shauna Springer had a chance to talk with Elliot McKenzie, an up-and-coming R&B singer and Marine Corps veteran. Elliot, an Iraq war veteran, uses music as a form of therapy for PTSD. His music and on-stage performances are a form of release and calming for his condition. Through using music as therapy, Elliot has found a way to save his own life. We hope you enjoy this.
All right, good morning, Elliot. Elliot McKenzie joining us today on Veterans Voices, a fellow Los Angelino. How are you today?
I'm great, how are you? I'm good.
Good, good. So Elliot's a Marine Corps veteran, and he's an up-and-coming R&B artist, done some really interesting pieces of music. And we just wanted to have a conversation with him today about a little bit about his time in the Marine Corps, but mostly, you know, what lights you up now. So tell us a little bit about your time in the Marine Corps, Elliot.
So I joined the Marine Corps in 2003, right after I graduated high school. While I was in the Marine Corps, I was selected for security forces. And in security forces, I served on a FAST team. FAST stands for Fleet Anti-Terrorism Security Team. For about 6 months, and then from there I went to Presidential Support Duty, which is about 1% of the Marine Corps selected to help guard the President of the United States, and I was lucky enough to be part of that 1%. I did that for about a year and a half, and then after those two jobs, I was put into my primary job, which was an infantry marine, a rifleman, and I was put at Camp Pendleton, California, and with 1st Battalion, 5th Marines, I went to Iraq, Ramadi, Iraq in 2005, and then I went on the 31st MEU, which is in Okinawa, Japan in 2006, and then I got out of the Marine Corps in 2007.
All right, well, tell us about your transition out of the Marine Corps, the time after the Marine Corps, whatever you want to share.
So I got out of the Marines in 2007, and I got out because I actually got accepted to go to a college out here in California in Los Angeles called Musicians Institute, because I had already known that I wanted to do music. I had actually recorded my, an amateur album, I guess you can say, while I was in Okinawa, Japan in 2006, and with other Marines. And so I got out because I got accepted to that school, and I went to that school and I learned a lot about how to, you know, become an entrepreneur in the music industry. And then I struggled for a while. After that, I tried to chase the dream of doing music full time, and didn't really have a full set of income coming in, didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do, exactly how I wanted to achieve my goals. So I call it my gray area. I was lost. A lot of veterans go through this where they get out of the military and they're lost, you know? So I was in that gray area for a while.
How did you come out of that gray area? What was the thing or the realization that you had that kind of propelled you forward?
So in 2008, that's when I say things really hit the fan in a negative way. My PTSD actually I ended up homeless. I almost ended up in prison because of it. And so what changed everything was, while I was recovering from all that, I was seeing a counselor at the vet center out here in California. And the counselor that I was seeing gave me some really, really sound advice. And she told me, one of the things she told me was, why don't you use your music as therapy? Because I had explained to her that I've been doing music since I was a kid, and I was a singer and a drummer and this and that. And she said, why don't you try to chase those dreams you've been chasing and use that as a form of therapy? And so in doing that, I ended up finding a way out of my gray area.
Thank you for that, Elliot. There's two things I love about what you just said. The first is that therapy can be life-saving if you have the right doc. And if you have the right doc, that person is going to give you some sound counsel that's based on understanding who you are as a warrior and as a man. And so I really appreciate, you know, that you kind of talked about how therapy has been beneficial, you know, for you. So then tell us about the next steps. Like when you grabbed a hold of that and you said, music is going to be part of my therapy and my life, what happened next?
So what I did next was I saved up about $2,500, and I went out and I purchased a computer, I purchased and recording studio equipment, and I put together a recording studio in my bedroom at home. And I basically just sat at home and I taught myself how to record music, how to make it sound good, how to mix it, how to master it, things like that. And then I started networking. I started finding out who else in the Los Angeles area is a musician, who else does what I'm trying to do, who can I network with to try to make this a bigger thing for me. And so, excuse me, I spent about, I want to say, like 2 or 3 years doing that. And then I built up a good product. And then last year was when I finally hit the point where I felt like I was a professional at what I was doing.
Yep. You went pro.
Yeah, unofficially went pro, I guess is what you can say, is when I started releasing music officially, like on iTunes and SoundCloud and Apple Music and things like that. And then I started getting booked for concerts and I started getting paid for what I was doing. So last year was really when things really started going in a direction where I've wanted them to go for so long now. I
think that what's really important about your story is that for so many people who kind of become somebody and really make something of themselves, there's this like hidden period of time where they're just laboring in privacy and obscurity, and that takes tenacity and persistence. So a question I have for you is, you know, how do you bring who you are as a Marine to that period of your life when you weren't known and you were struggling and working to build something, but nobody knew who you were at that time?
I think the biggest thing that helped me as far as what I brought out of being a Marine was the extremely high discipline level that the Marine Corps gives all of its members.
Yep.
When you go through recruit training to become a Marine, 98% of what you're doing that entire 3 months in recruit training is building discipline in different ways and through different experiences. And it was that discipline that I gained through not only recruit training and becoming a Marine, but my time in the Marine Corps, that really taught me how to actually get things done and not just talk about what I wanted to do, but actually execute the mission and get things done that would help me make progress in my music career.
That's right. I'm always telling people that there's like ways to be a warrior in other fields of work, you know, and that it's so important to help vets transition by helping understand what it looks like to be a warrior in whatever profession they choose. So tell us about some of your music, Elliot. What were you thinking as you wrote it? Anything you want to share?
Okay, so the first song and music video that really kind of like went, I don't want to say viral, but it got popular amongst the veteran community and just the communities in general, was Gunshots, which was released last year. Gunshots was a song that I had in the back of my mind for quite some time. And I wanted to write it because I wanted two things to happen. I wanted to be able to use it as a form of education for civilians who might not be aware of what combat PTSD is. And then I also wanted it to be able to be a form of therapy for the combat veterans and veterans who have PTSD who watch it. And so that was pretty much the first time I really was able to put my experiences as a Marine and my personal PTSD experience into music and into a music video.
What do you want civilians to pick up on when they watch Gunshots?
I want them to pick up on the small stuff. Like, for instance, the biggest scene that I feel like matters for civilians in that video is the scene where the veteran is in the store and the guy drops the mug and the mug hits the ground. And to everybody else, it's just a mug hitting the ground. But to a combat vet, that mug hitting the ground multiple times and rotating on the ground might sound like fire, like a firefight, like rounds hitting around him. And so there's a scene where that happens and then the guy ducks behind the counter. So if something like that happens to you and you see a veteran ducking behind a counter because a balloon popped or because something sounded similar to gunshots, or even like 4th of July on fireworks or for fireworks, just be aware that that stuff happens. And I wanted it to be a form of education to visually show people what we go through as combat veterans.
Yeah, you know, I watched your video and it's interesting you pick out that particular scene because what you see and you captured so well is the nonverbals of everybody else around kind of withdraws, not approaches.
Right.
And they look like kind of shocked about the reaction that the veteran has. And I agree, man, I think if people understood that, then maybe we could approach and just not be, not pull back, you know? I thought you really captured that.
Thank you, thank you. I actually wrote that. I wrote the entire video, I produced the entire video, I directed the entire video, and I did that on purpose because I actually did it from my personal experience. That scene actually happened to me, except my personal experience was a kid that popped a balloon in a Vons, and I ducked behind a tomato counter. So I wanted to take my personal experience and kind of alter it a little bit for the video, and then showcase that in the video.
Yeah, it felt authentic to me for sure. Anything else before we end for today?
My website is ElliotMcKenzie.com. 2 L's and 2 T's in Elliot, so ElliotMcKenzie.com. You could reach me on there. All my social media connections are on there. There's photos, my music is on there, videos. So basically it's like everything about me and what I do is on that website in case you want to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us today. It was really fun to talk to you.
Thank you for having me.